Hello, I'm James Robbins, diplomatic correspondent for the BBC. Now, you've probably heard about the US-led coalition attacking so-called Islamic State, but what exactly is it, this coalition? Well, let's start at the beginning. President Obama announced the formation of this current coalition against Islamic State back in September 2014, and there are actually over 60 countries on board, although their contributions and their active participation vary hugely. So what exactly are all these countries doing? The United States and Iraq apparently lead in the task of supporting military operations, so-called capacity building and training. The Netherlands and Turkey, well, they lead on stopping the flow of foreign terrorist fighters, while Italy, Saudi Arabia and the United States coordinate on the vital task of cutting off IS access to financing and funding. Germany and the United Arab Emirates lead on humanitarian relief and humanitarian crises, while the UAE, the United Kingdom and the United States, they lead on exposing IS's true nature, basically countering all those IS videos and social media messages. But of course the main thing that most people focus on is who is actually fighting against IS. Well, in the lead, no surprise, is the world's dominant military superpower, and that's the United States. Next largest is France, particularly since the Paris attacks, and the United Kingdom has extended British airstrikes from Iraq into Syria as well. And these three have one big thing in common. All those countries are among the permanent veto powers on the United Nations Security Council, and that matters because it means they feel a special responsibility to step up to the plate. The other really important military contributors are the regional states, including many key Arab countries. Their reasons for taking part vary, but here are some common threads. One, they're all allies of the United States. And two, they all have governments dominated by Sunni Muslims, and they see the non-IS Sunni Muslims in both Iraq and Syria as oppressed minorities. Above all, they're opposed to President Assad and his regime in Syria, and opposed to the military, financial and political support for him from Shia Muslim Iran, the dominant regional challenger to them and to Saudi Arabia in particular. So they've got a coalition now, but are their roles somehow set in stone? Certainly not. Take the Gulf Arab powers who helped build up this coalition in 2014. They've apparently reduced their roles and stopped flying bombing missions against IS. Their new priority is to help the Saudis in their fight in Yemen against the Houthi rebels there, largely because those rebels are seen as Iranian proxies, and as I said before, it's the dominant regional challenger to Saudis. Now let's break this idea of a coalition down even a bit further. First, how do you even form one? Often as not, coalitions are formed by a dominant power which needs support from friends in a fight, as much for political reasons as military ones, to demonstrate that it's not acting purely in its own interests as a sort of global bully. Well, the more allies you have, the less that charge can be made to stick. And if you're intervening in a region with particular religious sensitivities, then you definitely want as many regional powers to join you as possible. So, next question, where do the Russian airstrikes fit into all of this? Russia effectively heads its own coalition, with Iran in particular. The problem for the US-led coalition is that Moscow's aims are substantially different. Any limited cooperation between those rival coalitions is largely focused on trying to avoid shooting each other's aircraft down. And finally, what about boots on the ground? Well, this is the Achilles heel. A US-led coalition might look invulnerable, but actually it's only unbeatable in the skies. On the ground, it's reliant on Syrian opposition fighters. But they're by no means a single coherent force. It's estimated there could be as many as 100 separate fighting groups, some of them with sympathies or links to radical extremism. Other fighters allied to the coalition include, of course, Kurdish Peshmerga soldiers. It doesn't directly command. And their aim is to overthrow President Assad in Syria and strengthen their own territory in Iraq, and only incidentally to worry about Islamist extremists. So the coalition formed against Islamic State has distinct vulnerabilities. Most leaders concede this fight will take many, many years. Holding coalitions together for long periods is often the hardest task of all.